Data Backup and Disaster Recovery webinar. My name is Dwight Blankenship. I'm the owner of TeamLogic IT here in Columbus, and I just want to welcome everyone this morning and thank you for spending time with us. Basically, we are going to cover things regarding HIPAA compliancy. I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. I am an IT veteran of 25 years. I've spent the last 12 years focused on internet and network security and data loss prevention, as it pertains to compliancy. I was most recently with Cisco and WebSense, and I reside here in Columbus, Ohio. Joining me today also is Jack Collins from our partner with the technology VaultLogic's InternetVault. He'll be talking to you a little bit later on about how InternetVault can address your HIPAA-compliant backup and recovery needs. So the rest of the agenda, we're going to talk about what are those requirements for HIPAA compliancy backup and recovery, and some of the other challenges that your organization may be facing, and as well as others are facing. And then we'll talk specifically about how TeamLogic's InternetVault can help you with HIPAA compliancy as it pertains to backup and disaster recovery. We'll give you a little bit of a comparison to other online backup solutions and close with talking about some of the promotions that we've got currently going on. So real high level, what's required for a HIPAA compliant data backup solution? You really need to evaluate your solutions across these 6 core functionality categories. First is user authentication, making sure that the right people have the access to the data, that they are, not only storing it but accessing it with the right and proper authorization. It's also important to have role-based access so that those people can only access the data that they should be accessing and not other potentially sensitive data. So you can separate your data and your backup and the information people access based on their responsibility within the organization. An administrator may not need access to backups of client or patient sensitive data, but maybe some other business-related documents, for example. It's also very important that your data is encrypted, both when it's at rest on your hard drive as well as when it's in use or being transmitted for a remote backup, making sure that that data is not decipherable if it's going across the internet. It's also important that you store this data off-site. And we'll talk about some of the challenges about traditional backups and what some people have experienced by not putting their data off-site. But that's also very critical. You need to make sure that where that data is kept, that it's secure and it meets other industry standards that are highly scrutinized to make sure and audited to make sure that that information is secure. And you need to be able to audit and document what that data has done or where it's being stored and are your backups complete and those types of things. Some of the other challenges that we see companies facing is really that, a lot of companies just don't spend the time that it's required to manage their business continuity plans. 90% of small companies spend less than 8 hours planning or managing their business continuity. And so, as we know, if something happens, you've got to have some kind of contingency plan, a fallback plan. And you need to really take a look at this and spend time on it. But through managed service offerings, and what we're going to talk to you about today, you can take a lot of the worry out of that, and you don't have to necessarily spend the time on these types of things, feeling assured that it's being taken care of by your managed service partner like TeamLogic. Also, a local backup, it doesn't protect you against a lot of the other types of failures or disasters that you may have or that may occur, such as theft or viruses or even human error. You know, I had a soon-to-be client come to us last week, and they had gotten a Trojan malware on their system, and it impacted their QuickBooks. And they actually went to go and restore some of the data, and their backups were not being completed the last 2 days. So they lost 2 days of work on their QuickBooks accounting package, and had to spend the time re-entering all that information. So a tremendous loss of productivity there, obviously, as well as an impact to your bottom line. So a lot of people think of disaster recovery and those types of things from natural disasters, but it could just be, you know, a virus on your machine that is impacting your backup or your data. And then, of course, there's human error. That's a good percentage of it. You know, somebody deleted a file they shouldn't have deleted, or they lost it somehow, and it's critical to recover. So, you know, those are some of the other challenges. We also see, you know, 97% of stolen computers are never recovered. Every week, 140,000 hard drives crash in the United States, and 31% of PC users, they've lost their files due to events that were beyond their control. And another key thing is companies, according to this statistic, 34% of them fail to test their backups. And those that do, they find that 77% of them have failures or have issues. They're not complete. Some of the other challenges that we see, you know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, a lot of catastrophes out there are not necessarily natural. They're caused by malware. And the United States is the leader as far as countries go for overall malicious attacks and activities, making up 23% of the total malicious attacks going on in the world. So it's really critical, not just you know, obviously to have some security elements in place, but to make sure that that data is kept somewhere else other than on their systems, so that the bad guys can't get to it and do something malicious with it. In the past 2 years, 50% of businesses that experienced an unforeseen interruption, they basically caused them to close their business. 81% of them had to close their business for 1 or more days. In fact, we had a company contact us last week, as well as a different company, that their server crashed. And they thought their backups were being done properly, but they found out that they weren't. And they were unable to recover, and they literally had to close their office for the day. Luckily, we were able to work with them over the weekend and get things back up and running, but they lost some data because their data was not being backed up. And you can imagine the lost productivity and the cost to the business owner of having to send their employees home and pay them for that day, but a day that wasn't worked. Another statistic, 93% of companies that lost their data center for 10 days or lost their data for 10 days or more filed for bankruptcy within 1 year. 50% of those found themselves without data management for the same time period, filed for bankruptcy immediately. So again, the data is really the crown jewels of your business. That is really the main asset that you have. In fact, according to Gartner, 90 to 95% of the essence of your business, your organization, is made up of data, structured and unstructured data. The other 5 to 10% is intellectual capital or what people have upstairs. So you can imagine, you know, if 90 to 95% is data, you got to make sure that that's protected. So those are some of the challenges that we see out there. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jack so he can talk about TeamLogic's InternetVault managed service and how we can help you with HIPAA compliancy. It's really important to understand that this is a true managed service. This isn't just about you know, a cloud service offering, but partnered with VaultLogix, you know, TeamLogic can bring to you a comprehensive managed solution so that you don't have to worry about it. So with that said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jack and let him talk about how we address these particular rules that pertain to HIPAA compliancy. Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you, Dwight. Good morning. Again, it's Jack Collins. And yes, I'd just like to walk through a little of the high-end overview of how we can help you with your backups and complying with the HIPAA rules. And so the first one that we want to get over, as we were discussing earlier, is the password. So you want to make sure that everybody has their own unique ID and password for the backup sets. We can automatically generate passwords. We can custom generate a password, so you're the only key holder for the encryption key. But the bottom line is you want to make sure that you have a level of security in there with your password so nobody else can have access to that. Okay. And then if we go on to different, as Dwight was talking about earlier, administrators might not need access to patient files, things like that. So what we do at TeamLogic is we can create different backup sets where only certain people will have access to certain information. Still, everybody will have their own unique ID and user ID and password. So one person isn't going to log in and have access to everything. So we'll make sure that everything is secure within your organization and nobody is seeing information that they shouldn't be seeing at that point. Moving on, the most important, the data encryption. Everything that we encrypt here with TeamLogic is 256-bit encryption, and that's government-grade encryption. For most of you that do, to give you an idea, anybody that does online banking, anything like that, it is 256-bit encrypted, and the encryption is all done at your site. So before it leaves your site, everything is encrypted, and it's encrypted upon transfer, upon storage, and upon return. So it's always secure. So even if we were transporting information back, you don't have to worry about that. It's encrypted no matter what. The biggest thing is getting your information off-site. As we talked about before, there's plenty of different things that can happen at your location, but most importantly, what we want to get it off-site for is we want to take the human element out of this. In the past, I'm sure some of you have dealt with either tape rotations, hardware, if you were rotating USB drives, and some people forget to take the drives or tapes off-site, that's a big problem. So what we want to do is take that out of your hands, and we will handle that ourselves by automatically taking the information off-site for you. As far as where the information goes, you don't have to worry about anymore about taking tapes or USB drives and putting them in safety deposit boxes. We're putting these in top-of-the-line data facilities. All these data facilities are Tier 4 data centers, which need security access to get into. They have all types of fire suppression, high-grade security, everything you need. And to go a step further, what we do is multiple times a year, we have a third party come in and audit these facilities to ensure that not only is your data residing there, but the facilities are up to code and that will meet all the HIPAA standards there. One last thing that you want to always be aware of is TeamLogic is always going to be monitoring all your information and making sure that not only are your backups running smoothly, that you're getting reporting as well. So we can give to you notifications and emails that make sure that your backups are successful, what files are being backed up, is your data growing, and we can show you a number of detailed reports and notifications that we have that TeamLogic can provide and make sure that everything is working well with your backups. One thing I'd like to go over as well is, as well as having your servers and workstations backed up, what we've been seeing a lot lately is that people are using a lot of mobile devices, whether it's laptops, iPads, things of that nature. The biggest problem is those are being taken home at night and not being backed up. We do have a way of backing those up, and the real reason that it's very important to have those backed up is for the sheer nature of how many of the laptops are being stolen. If you look at some of these statistics, laptops have a 10% chance of being lost or stolen over 3 years. Most of these laptops, as we saw earlier, are never recovered. There's only 8% of laptops being backed up. And just how much money the average cost of a lost laptop costs you, $49,000 worth of data is lost on there. And we'll circle back to how we can back those up for you. But just something to differentiate how TeamLogic is doing things and backing things up. One thing that we do that's different is this is a fully automated solution. As I said before, you don't have to do anything. Once we come in and evaluate what you have for an environment, we'll come up with a plan, and we will take everything from there. The nice thing is in addition to have everything off-site, we can also put an on-site appliance so you have a local backup as well as off-site, and this is being replicated between 2 separate facilities as well. So you'll have 3 backups running at any given time. There's going to be no software license fees per servers, which if you go to some of the competitors, they're going to charge you that. These backups, they can all be backed up hot, meaning that you don't need to shut down all the programs at the end of the night. So if you have somebody working, the backup will continue to run, and it will back up all open files as well. Okay. There's not going to be any annual software or hardware maintenance fees, and our backups are going to be more frequent than you're used to because of the shorter backup windows and because of the technology that we're running here. One thing that we pride ourselves on is this is a business class solution. This is not a consumer grade solution. One of the biggest things, and especially when we're talking about HIPAA, that we need to be aware of here is everything is replicated versus the consumer storage that you'll see out there is not. The encryption that we spoke about before, having the support, having the audits done, those are all the things that are going to be needed for the compliance over a consumer grade product. And now to go back to the mobile backups, as you can see here, compared to some of our competitors, a lot of the things that we can do are, the continuous backups that we have there. And then if the laptops were to be stolen, we can do a remote data deletion. We can wipe the data clean there. Everything is protected even when you're not connected to the internet. And this is very easy to deploy, again, very easy to manage. And while this is running, you won't even notice it in the background. It will not affect any performance on the machine at all. Okay. So when we deploy the Mobile Plus, very easy. It takes, when we do the deployment, it will take under a minute for the software to download. And once we figure out what we want to have backed up, it is just going to be taking block level changes. So if you make a change on a Word document, change something from April to May, it's just going to grab that one block, it's going to deduplicate it, compress it, and send it off-site. As well as it's going to be always encrypted, as we talked about before. So it's going to run very smoothly, and now you have everything being backed up. So you're not going to lose any information because this is going to be a continuous backup for your laptop. Again, just to review the data centers, they all are Tier 4. If anything were to happen to the data center, like I said, it's being held at 2 separate facilities. At any given time, it is mirrored to a secondary facility. Both of the facilities will have all the generator backups, as I said before, the firewalls, the redundant architect, and state-of-the-art enterprise-grade equipment that it's all being stored on. The most important thing with online backup is making sure that you can get your information back. This is one thing, when you deal with a lot of other companies, it can take quite a bit of time to get the information back. With TeamLogic, we have 4 different ways that we can get your information back. We can always pull it back online. Okay. There is also a client web operator where any user can sign in and do a single file restore. We can always do a restore locally, so even if there wasn't any internet connection at all, we can still restore your information locally from a device. And then if there's a major disaster, what we're going to do is seed everything to a USB drive, and then we'll have that overnighted to you, so you'll be up and running. Next day we'll have the information there.
All right, Jack, thank you very much. So basically, folks, I wanted to just wrap up by kind of recapping. We talked about, the 6 different requirements for HIPAA and how TeamLogic's InternetVault can address those, from making sure the right people are getting the data that they should be getting or storing the data they should be storing, to making sure your mobile devices, your laptops, and those types of things that are in the field are protected as well. I do want to mention we have a promotional offering going on currently. We're offering 50% off the installation of this service, as well as your price per month could be anywhere from 60 cents to $1 per gigabyte. It just depends on the amount of data you're storing and those types of things. But at the end of the day, if you would like to talk about this more and receive a quote, as well as we can offer you a free trial of the solution, please send me an email to the address here, dblankenship@teamlogicit.com, and/or feel free to give us a call at 614-885-4648. So again, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to spend with us today, and we look forward to hopefully helping you out in the future with your HIPAA-compliant backups. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.